Jazzcast Pros.
Hello there, my graceful grinders and totally uniquers. Welcome back to another episode of the Grace and Grind podcast. It's the space where women rise, heal, and walk boldly in their authentic confidence. I'm your host, Dr. Pamala Brown-Grinion, and today's episode is one that touches the heart in the deepest way. We're talking about something that has affected far too many families, yet continues to reveal the incredible resilience of women. We're talking about breast cancer. Joining me are two extraordinary sisters whose stories embodies both courage and choice. Their mother walked through her own battle with breast cancer, and years later, they each faced the same generational shadow. One through treatment, the other through prevention. Today, we have joining Dr. Beverly Pringle, a retired school administrator, and U.S. Army retired Lieutenant Colonel Valerie Pringle. This conversation is not just about illness, it's about how we rise when life tries to rewrite our stories for us, and how healing in all its forms become an act of power and grace. So again, welcome Dr. Beverly and Lieutenant Colonel Valerie Pringle. Thank you so much for being with me today. I'd like to welcome you to the Grace and Grind podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your mother's battle with breast cancer clearly shaped both of your journeys. How did watching her walk through that season influence the way each of you view your own resilience today?
You go ahead, Valerie.
Okay. I recall being with my mom for her examination when the doctor was stating, well, we don't know what it is, but we'll do a biopsy and find out just what is going on. And I remember getting very emotional at that time. And my mom just sat there very calmly. And she said, now we don't know until the tests have come in. Okay. And that helped to calm me down. It's something to think about right now because it's sort of what I felt when I had to go through my biopsies after finding out that things didn't look normal from my examination.
And so, Lieutenant Colonel, this question is for you. So when did it first hit that this wasn't just something that happened to your mom, but something that could potentially affect you personally? And what emotions surfaced in that moment? How did you find strength to face it head on?
Well, the fact that I was there with her was a sign that this is not just a one-person issue. This is a family issue. And so that's when I became involved at that time to say, oh, let's look at this big picture. And I didn't even think about myself because my focus was on my mom. It was not on me, not at all. It only surfaced with me when I found out that my examination was a bit peculiar, that there are some things that look questionable. And that's when I sort of went back in time to say, okay, we don't know.
All right. So, Lieutenant Colonel, you were making a point about some other testing that women and even men should get. Can you expound on that a little bit more, please, for the listeners?
Yes. What I'm speaking of is the BRCA test. Some of you may have heard of Angelina Jolie, a person on the screens. She took the BRCA test because her mom had come up positive for breast cancer. And so, to cut the story short, when I went to see my breast surgeon for the first time, I told her the story of the family. And so she just looked at me and asked, well, you want to do that now? You want to take the BRCA test now? And it was a very interesting test. It's strictly about your saliva. You cannot have any food prior to. I think I had a piece of gum and I filled up the little vial. And 2 weeks later, I gave the doctor my work number. She called me. And all I could do was say, look for a friend at work because I was at work. And I said, are you giving out hugs? Because my test came back negative. So what that meant was that I did not have breast cancer according to the family genealogy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty important to know, because at least you can say, well, we did that part, and keep checking things off from there.
So now, where do you go to get when I have my mammogram? Is that something that I could ask the technician, or where I go? Can I take this BRCA test?
I would say, based off of my experiences with the doctor that you are working with for your procedure.
Okay.
Yes, because again, the doctor that I work with is a surgeon, and she offered it to me. Yes, she just offered it to me because, some people are afraid to know the truth, and some people just want to know the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said previously, I want to see things scientifically, and then I want to step back and see it from a human standpoint as well. That would be the emotional standpoint and looking at how you're living your life. But scientifically, am I set up for this? Do we all just have bad genes in our family, or what? And so, again, when Dr. Cleland called me at work, I was so ecstatic. I really was. I will not forget that day.
So the BRCA test, can you repeat again what it's testing for?
It's testing to see if your genealogy within your person is there for breast cancer. Because nobody else in my family took the test, because they had their own situation, their own diagnoses. And so with me telling the story of my family, my mom and my sister, and now the science is saying that you have these places on your body that look cancerous. Would you like to take the BRCA test that will show you, according to the saliva, the specimen that you provide, if you have the genetic composition for breast cancer?
Wow. And you were also mentioning something about men and breast cancer as well.
Yes. Everyone, please be aware that men get breast cancer as well, at any age as well. Not if they have large breasts or small breasts, they come up positive as well.
My co-pastor mentioned something about that in church on Sunday, and I had heard it before, but the way she told the story, it just made it, so much more real. And I was actually thinking, that is it just men that may present with, having a large breast, like overweight or a C cup man, or, just trying to think, can it happen in men with large breast? But you're saying it can happen with men with any size breast or chest tissue.
That is a presentation that I recall having when I went to a breast cancer event a few years ago, that there was no particular shape of a person that will say you will get breast cancer.
Wow.
And that's what I think we all need to understand. Don't be afraid of knowing the truth. Yes. But if you do suspect something's not right, definitely check into it. Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing.
Of course. And that was the attitude I took with me when I went for my biopsies. To go forward, I had to have some sense of peace in my head. And that's what happened. Referring back to being with my mom, as well as having a bit of faith, it'll be okay. We don't know what we don't know, but we're here to find out.
Yes. And, when you mentioned that your mom she was in the midst of her own personal struggle with this and not knowing, but she was still providing a certain measure of peace for you that you were able to gravitate to after she was gone, when you were going through your own journey, correct?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
That's wonderful. That is definitely a mother's legacy right there. All right. So, Dr. Beverly, this question is for you. What was your emotional journey like after diagnosis and treatment?
Well, having watched my mother go through this, her initial diagnosis, and I did not know of my mother having been sick a day in her life, except for the norm, menopause, etc. And finding out that, well, she had had a stroke at the age of 75, I believe. Valerie, you can correct me. But it was something that was shocking because she had not been sick it was actually our father who had had some wartime issues. And when I received the message that she had had a stroke, that was shocking. And moving through, and then the cancer diagnosis was there, and I was with my father and mother when that was done, because my mother shared with Valerie and me that she was having a, what you call it, a leakage. And Valerie and I both told her, I said, that's not good. That doesn't sound good. And we were able to be with her when we recommended that she go to Duke Hospital. And I was with her at that time. Valerie been transferred to overseas. I think she was in Egypt. And it was important that one of us be there. And it was a matter of the doctor saying, Ma, you take copious notes. And I said, you haven't met my sister. And it resonated with me because I didn't know of my mother being that sick. And taking the notes and trying to recover or to look at that. And I saw my father's face. I don't know if I've ever seen him in a position of fright. And I'll put it that way because my mother has been the backbone for all of us. It was the first time I'd seen my father in that state of position. His wife, the one that he had been with for many, many years, he couldn't help her.
Let me jump in here, Dr. Beverly.
Sure.
The question for you is, because you're currently going through treatment right now, correct?
Yes.
All right. So what was your emotional journey like after your diagnosis and while going through your treatment?
Well, that first round in 2017 to 18, it was a matter of, God's got this. I'm going to be all right. And it was not until 2019, February 1st, in which I had to step back and regroup. And I said, what just happened here? The cancer came back and it is now metastatic, and it took me into a different phase, I should say. And I am currently taking treatments for metastatic cancer. And I had treatment just last week, and I now have to take various tests every 3 months. I had one today, and this is a journey.
I'm sure.
And I respect my sister for what she did and what she is going through and the decisions she made. And I'll let her share that because she saw what our mother went through and then what I went through. She being such a trooper and a healthy person.
That brings me to my next question. You both chose very different paths.
Yes.
Bev, you chose the treatment, and Valerie, you chose prevention. So how did you come to, especially you, Valerie, how did you come to that decision to go the prevention route?
You have to be in concert with your surgeon. It was interesting for me to locate my surgeon because I'm a federal employee, and I looked at my insurance and I said, okay, who can help me? Who around here can help me? I relied on the surgeon that I selected because we had things in common, and I heard nice things from her nurse. And then the route that I took was, plastic surgery as well. So I had an expander put in. So it was also interesting that I spoke with Dr. Cleland, Catherine Cleland, and she said that, yes, I've worked with Dr. Lee, and I believe that was her name. And so it was all about working in concert with everybody. It was interesting. Once I got my biopsy, I did meet Dr. Cleland, and she told me that I had a mass and she could remove a portion of my breast, or she could take the mass out. And I said, and together, we agreed that, what we'll do is remove the breast. So that's what happened. And The plastic surgeon was in the operating room as well. So I think my procedure took about 3 or 4 hours. I forget exactly, but I did have to stay overnight at the hospital. And I'll never forget the following morning after my breakfast, which was really good. The doctor came by and said that I had no extenuating circumstances. The growth definitely did not go to my lymph nodes, and I was good to go home. No chemo required, no radiation required. So I must say I had a good stay at the hospital that evening.
Praise God. That's a wonderful testimony. Now, if it's not too personal, did you do a single or a double?
I did a single, and it's interesting how this whole process works. The plastic surgeon telling me that your breasts are asymmetrical. Therefore, if you're going to get the expander, then we need to put the expander in both sides. One to inflate the one that was removed, and the other one to get to the size that looks symmetrical. Yeah, to keep the breast from looking asymmetrical. So the other part of life was I have some sorority members and church members had gone through the same thing. And, once I let them know what was going on with me, they shared their story with me where I felt more confident in talking to my medical providers about what was going on as well.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. It's wonderful to have that kind of support from other women that have gone through the same thing. So, Dr. Beverly, so many women wrestle with identity after surgery or physical changes to their body. How did you or do you redefine beauty and femininity for yourself after having gone through this surgical process?
Interesting question. I'm of age now that I am comfortable with who I am. There were scar tissue and things that occurred, but I had to realize this is who I am and this is the journey that God has put me on. And I appreciate that because He still has me here. And I have to sometimes think about what is the path or what is the purpose that I have at this point. I don't have children, which I'd always wanted to, but I do feel that He's not through with me yet. And I came from a family of love and appreciation and of peace. So I'm still moving forward, and I appreciate that.
That's beautiful. So, Lieutenant Colonel, can you explain why early detection is so critical and what signs or changes should women never ignore?
Well, my discovery occurred at my annual examination. My birthday is in April, and that's when I tried to do all of my wellness visits. So that would be the dentist, your mammogram, and whatever else that needs to be done. And so you definitely need to keep up with your health checks. That's it. I recall at home in North Carolina, my mom had a breast cancer, a breast check doorknob hanger. So, once you get this information, you need to display it as well. So you can be reminded of what you need to be doing. I think it's also good to have a good buddy that you can always just talk to about women's health. I think that's where, even today, I have a level of understanding myself as well as others by at least having one person, at least one, outside of your medical team to discuss what's going on with your body, what you think is okay, and then discover it's not okay. Right. Those are some things to keep in mind. Definitely focus on your own good health. Chips aren't what you should be eating, so don't eat them. Or at least minimize the foods that aren't so healthy for you. Minimize that as much as possible. And definitely have a physical regimen. That's what's going to help you out.
I remember when my mom went through her breast cancer experience, and I've never seen so much faith. I was fretful, and she said, faith and fear can't live in the same body. And
That's right.
She was just such a warrior, such a trooper about it. But I still saw her in her quiet moments when she prayed, and I knew that it had taken some type of emotional toll on her as it did me. And so for you, how did you care, both of you, how did each of you care for your hearts during this time? Because it is emotional and there is a certain amount of, concern, worry, fear, whatever you want to call it. What did the healing look like emotionally, not just physically, while you were going through this initial conversation with doctors about, having found a mass? And if you don't mind, Lieutenant Colonel, if you could answer first.
Well, again, faith.
Wonderful. And Dr. Beverly, how did you care for your heart? And what did your healing look like emotionally for you?
It's being surrounded by family and friends, or they're all my family, and reaching out for the weaknesses that I've had and saying, I need you. And doing that, I appreciate that, for them accepting me for who I am and recognizing that, okay, my girl needs some help here. Recognizing also that it's okay. God's got this. I miss my family, my parents. I think of them through dreams, etc. But it's my family that gives me the faith to keep moving forward. Valerie and I came up in a beautiful family, a beautiful setting, and we recognize how we can move forward.
What was it like when there was no one there? When it was just you and the stillness of the night and it's just you by yourself and you've just gotten this diagnosis and you're thinking. What were those moments like when you were alone?
Dr. Pam, it was hurtful. It was painful. It was sometimes where what just happened here. And I had to step back. I reached out to my family and some who are medical, and I'm like, I don't understand this. And I had to regroup. It's a matter of touching base with your God and recognizing He is real and accepting Him, because if you don't, you will not understand what is happening. If we live for Him, then we can move forward.
Lieutenant Colonel, would you please add to that? What were your moments like when you were alone and processing that, wow, I have breast cancer?
Well, the first thing I think, scientifically, what is happening? Yeah, because I want to know, I want to understand it. And always know that God is in charge of everything that does happen, everything. So that's why, as I said before, I spoke to the nurse, spoke to the doctors. I'm Presbyterian, or we're Presbyterian. And after my initial visit with my plastic surgeon, who explained everything from the beginning to the very end, to say, when we're done, you will be able to. I said, okay. That's when I realized this whole thing was real. And that was it. It wasn't the biopsy. It wasn't the phone call. She, being a Presbyterian,
Let me say,
being
Dr.
of the
Pam,
same faith as me.
Valerie and I came up in a strong family. Some of you have heard me say we come from good stock, and it's a matter of us recognizing our ability to move forward. You're never told that you can't do anything.
Okay.
And this illness was one of those moments. You cannot sit here and dwell upon it. You move forward.
Okay.
And
Wonderful.
that, I think, was the basis of how we lived.
Okay. Lieutenant Colonel, you were cut off a little bit when you were responding. Would you like to pick up where you left off, please? Because you were making a very valid point there.
Yes. My doctor was also a believer. That's the bottom line. She is a believer. And as I said, after she explained the entire process to me of what we were going to do, or what would be happening after the surgeon did her part, we prayed. And it was my good friend from church who was with me at that visit. And before I stepped out in the lobby to let her know it's time to go, I said, do you realize the doctor is Presbyterian like us? So again, faith is what gets you through all of this. From the very beginning to the very end is the faith.
Thank God for that foundation. I mean, it reminds me of my mom and what she said as well. So if another woman or someone else is listening right now and they're afraid of their family history or what that might mean for her future, wanting to know that breast cancer is in her family tree, what would you want her to know about courage, choice, and or the power of taking control of her own narrative?
That's it. She is in charge of it. That's the main thing. She needs to step away from woe is me, having the pity party, but say, okay, this is what you have issued out to me. And this is how we're going to walk through this journey. And that's exactly what it is, a journey. Accept the fact that you need to have someone with you. Don't be silent, completely silent in everything that's going on, because when you hear yourself think, as you're speaking to someone else, things become clearer. They really do. And you're also at ease when you are speaking to other people who've gone through the journey. Again, faith and faith.
Okay, wonderful. I mean, it seems like the through lines through this entire conversation has been you must tap into your higher power, and your faith absolutely must be resounding and present in order to get through this, because this is an ordeal. This is definitely a life-changing ordeal. And it sounds like you absolutely must trust God, believe God, and hold on to God while you're going through this.
Right. Do your part. At the very end, after healing, I think I was home maybe 3 weeks in the healing process. I had a final visit to the hematologist. And I recall asking the doctor, what can I do to prevent this from happening ever again? So the bottom line is you got to take care of yourself outside of your faith, be it the way you just live your life, from the foods you eat, the exercise you do, the sleep that you get, and then continue to have your faith.
That is great advice. And I know that I need to listen to the exercising part and the eating right part. I mean, all of it, and sleeping, because I am a hit or miss in all three of those areas. So it's definitely a reminder to me, especially when, we're older now, right? We're older now, and we have to do things differently because we have done more damage to our bodies than we have time to undo,
That's it.
We really do. All right. So, Dr. Beverly, this is our last question here, and I'd like to present it to you. I'm going to unmute you. The question is, what message would you give to women that are currently battling breast cancer who may be feeling weary or afraid?
To stop being afraid and recognize God's got you. And that means to stop doing some of the things that you have been doing that are not in God's graces. Accept Him, receive Him, and accept the love, the joy. And through it all, He will receive you. And I expect that to be my challenge. And I know that is where I'm going. I love Him. Amen.
Thank you two ladies for joining me today. What a gift it's been to share this space with two women whose courage reminds us that strength is not just found in survival. It's found in the choice to keep showing up, loving yourself, and embracing life, even when it throws you a curveball. Their stories are a reminder that healing takes many forms. It's in the sisterhood that holds us, the decisions that protect us, and the legacy that inspires us. And to every woman that is listening, may you be encouraged to know your body, honor your emotions, and take action and courage, especially if you are walking this breast cancer journey. If this episode spoke to your heart, share it with another woman who needs to be reminded that she is not alone. And remember that grace will always carry you, but your grind, your willingness to keep going, and your faith, that's where your power lives. I encourage you, if you have not already gotten your mammogram, to please go out and get your mammogram. Do it annually. I just had mine on Saturday. Make sure, if you know of a sister or a friend, another female who is, I know a lot of women who are just totally against mammograms, and I encourage them to, go ahead, take someone with you and do that. Encourage someone. Ask your sister friend, have you had your mammogram? Do you get mammograms? We are our sisters' keepers, and we need to make sure that we're doing this wellness checks with each other. Until next time, ladies, always remember to create your totally unique day on purpose. I'm your host, Dr. Pamala Brown-Grinion, and you can reach out to me on social media at I am Dr. Pamala, that's DrPamala, or go on my website at totallyou-nique.com. I'd love to hear from you. Please like and share. We appreciate your time. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me today and talking about this topic that all women really have in the forefront of their minds at some point or another. Thank you so much for being with me today.
You're welcome.
Thank you.